By now, you've probably heard all about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. You might even already be investing in them. But did you know that you could invest in cryptocurrencies through your retirement account? That's right. With iTrust Capital, you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies from a crypto IRA and get all the same tax advantages as a traditional IRA. iTrust Capital allows you to invest in over 24 of the most popular cryptocurrencies, and unlike the stock market, you can buy and sell 24 hours a day. The iTrust Capital platform is easy to use and only takes a few minutes to create your account. Setting up an IRA is free and iTrust fees are low. It's time to start taking control of your financial future. With iTrust Capital, you can get all the tax benefits of a retirement account while investing in crypto. Visit itrustcapital.com to start investing today. That's itrustcapital.com. Taxes and conditions may apply. Fees apply. Cryptocurrencies are a speculative investment with risk of loss. iTrust Capital Inc. does not provide legal investment or tax advice. Consult with a qualified legal investment or tax professional.
Become a volunteer at New Leaf Community Garden in downtown Noonan. Located at 32 Southside Avenue, our purpose is to educate, feed, and nourish the people of Noonan through a sustainable community garden. We always welcome extra hands in the garden and can accommodate volunteer group projects. We also have raised beds available for lease for beginner and experienced gardeners. Join us on most Saturdays between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. at 32 Southside Avenue, or visit our New Leaf Community Garden Facebook page to learn more. Become a volunteer at New Leaf Community Garden in downtown Noonan. Located at 32 Southside Avenue, our purpose is to educate, feed, and nourish the people of Noonan through a sustainable community garden. We also have raised beds available for lease for beginner and experienced gardeners. Join us on most Saturdays between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. at 32 Southside Avenue, or visit our New Leaf Community Garden Facebook page to learn more.
Broadcasting live from Columbus, Georgia, the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge is a daily sports show that focuses on the local and national sports. We cover all things River Dragons, Rapids, Lions, Chattahoochee, and the Columbus State Cougars. Broadcasted daily on WQEE 99.1 FM from 5 to 5:30 p.m. It's a great way to get your sports fix daily. So listen to the show or download the podcast.
I can do this.
We believe in you.
Each day brings hope.
Every day, millions of people celebrate their recovery from addiction and mental illness while others begin their journey. Be a part of it. Tell your story. Join the Voices for Recovery. Together, we are stronger. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral for mental or substance use disorders for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
You've been around long enough to know good stuff when you hear it. That's why you're here now. Classic Hits, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Welcome to Connecting Hearts. Connecting hearts of women to resources, information, and to one another. Presented by Creative Heart Studios, 18 Perry Street and Noonan. Now here's your host, Margie Conway.
Hi, I'm Margie Conway from the Creative Heart Studio here in Noonan. We met a couple of weeks ago where we had some things going. Sorry. So this is our second official episode, and we are the Connecting Hearts Network. We met with an awesome group of women on Saturday, and it was ideas flowing all around the room. It's such a mastermind group that I know you're going to enjoy hearing from these women over the next few weeks. We have set it up where we will have our live broadcast here at WQEE Key on Thursdays at 10:30 in the morning, and you can listen live through Facebook or listen on here. And then we are backing it up to our podcast, which we are all going to be spreading. But you can go to the Connecting Hearts Facebook page and see what we're up to. We're also going to be reaching out to you through social media and a planned website and some live events. I mean, the women in this room last week even had us having a huge women's conference at some point. So I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot about us. And if you saw any heart-shaped balloons flying over downtown Noonan, I did assure one of the women that those balloons were going to go all the way up in space and get the alien people who were trying to come down and get us, and they weren't going to land on the land and hurt any of the animals. So we are going to work to help encourage the women locally and wherever we may be reached, and bring in a little more joy and a little more peace. I promised you that each week I was going to have a special guest come in and talk with me on different subjects. And today, my little timer ain't even going. Today, I have Holly Reese, and my timer's not any good because I messed up. So today, Holly Reese is putting up with me, and Holly Reese is from Warrior Defenders. We've known each other a couple of years, and the two of us have some backgrounds that are similar, and we have our desire is to reach women who have been in abusive and in domestic violence situations, or may be in them now, or prevent women from getting in them by empowering them through their emotional, psychological, and physical defense systems. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I told Holly that when I was praying and thinking about this episode, that the story of Deborah in the Bible came to my mind, where Deborah would be the judge and would give wise counsel to people, and she was known for having good advice and doing these things. And I am no way saying that, either one of us is Deborah, because that would be big shoes to fill. But women have been known to give other women, and even the men, wise advice when they're listened to. And she told Barak, and this is all in Judges in chapter 4, and she told Barak when he came in about a big war they were going to have, and he was the top general, she said, "You're going to have victory." And he said, "Well, I can't go to war unless you come with me," because he needed the confidence of having that woman of God with him. And she said, "If I go with you, the victory will be given to a woman. It won't be your victory." And he said, "I don't care. As long as we're going to get victory, I need you to go with me." So she went with him, and sure enough, as that story plays through, it was a woman named Jael who got the victory in that battle. She is the one that used a tent peg to kill the opposing general. And so when they sang their songs and things, they would sing her name and not Barak's name. And I guess he was all right with that. The Bible doesn't ever tell him that. But we have found, as we've gone on through our lives, that sometimes not all men, there are some really good men, like Ryan, who's sitting in here with us. I'm sure he is top notch. And both of us has husbands now that we could sing their accolades over and over and over because they put up with us, if for no other reason. And there are good men there, but there seems to be, some that's not. And there are some of us women that gets tied up in it from time to time, whether it's, your dad, your sibling, your husband, your significant other, and we get caught in circumstances that we don't know how to deal with. And so the other part of the analogy I told Holly this morning is, if you're looking at me and you're looking at Holly, because we do a lot of joint things together, it would kind of be like we'd be in this village, somebody would run into town and say, "There's an army coming being led by a giant." And Holly would jump up with her sword and say, "Where's the giant? Show me the giant. I'm going to take care of the giant. Y'all come with me." And I would be the one that says, "Wait a minute, let's go in here and pray about it, and let me show you, remind you what God's already done in your life. So you'll have this victory too, but let's make sure we go into it with confidence and handle it wisely." And Holly'd be saying, "Okay, but that giant's getting closer. We got to go get him." And they would go out, and sure enough, with Holly leading the troop, they would slay that giant. And they would come back, and I'd be, "Okay, that was a great victory. Let's celebrate it and paint another picture so that we can remind ourselves later what God has done." And do you want to talk about it? If you want to talk about it, I'm sitting here waiting on you to talk about it. And so that's kind of how I really picture Holly and I, and that's kind of what we do, because Holly goes out and she has a group she calls Warrior Defenders, and she has all these accolades that I'm going to let her tell you about, that she has learned how to teach women personal self-defense. Actually, it could probably be Army self-defense, and you could really slay the giant. But she teaches people situational awareness, how to handle trauma and stress, and how to have personal self-defense. And that's fighting, guys, girls. That is really getting into it when you have no choice but to stand up for yourself physically. She's helping you learn how to do that. She's even helping Girl Scouts learn how to do that, because unfortunately that's the world that we're in. And then me, through her journey, has groups of women who are or has been in abusive or domestic violence situations come in, and we go through this 15-week study that helps you realize that abuse was not your fault. And there was no way you could pray yourself out of it or fight yourself out of it or what, until you took a stand and left. That was not your fault. Their behavior was their behavior. And sometimes we get caught up for many reasons, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But our study also tells you, here's how to handle anger, here's how to handle depression, here's how to handle anxiety, here's how to build yourself back up and realize who you are and that you are valuable and worthy of love, and how to know what a healthy relationship looks like. So that's her journey, and I will, touch base on it a little bit more here and there. But right now, I do want to say that we have a nighttime class on the west side of Noonan, and we have a daytime class over near Sharpsburg. So if you find yourself needing those classes, I'm going to tell you how to reach out so that you can plug into them. So now I want to introduce Holly, that I've already been talking about, and let's hear some of what she does to help us slay our giants.
I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you for inviting me and being part of the Connected Hearts as well. I'm looking forward to meeting all of the women that need to be empowered, to know their value, to know their worth, to know that they can move forward from what they've been through. I've moved forward from what I've been through. I'm a domestic violence survivor, so I relate deeply to the empowerment meetings that we have through her journey. And to help the women learn how valuable they are, and to know that they can be their own heroes and be who they were meant to be, by learning that if they were victims, never to be victims again, and how to prevent being victims at all ages. Through Warrior Defenders, I am a certified women's self-defense instructor, so it's specific for women and how they need to learn how to defend themselves and how they can de-escalate a situation and handle the stress of what's happening to them. And to know, yes, it's not your fault if it's already happened, to know that there are ways to prevent it from happening, to be aware of your surroundings at any age. And it's such a blessing to be through the journey that I was in, to be able to turn that around, to bring it to women in the local community, to help them realize that there is hope.
Right, and that's part of what all of the Connecting Hearts will be about, and a huge part of what I'm about is, we've all had battles and struggles. A lot of us have been in abusive situations or domestic violence situations, but not all of us have. Some of the women who come to our Her Journey groups have not been in those situations, and so we have kind of educated them of here's some things that does happen, but they've been able to educate us on some other things that people would go through that we wouldn't understand because we had the other side of the journey. Holly is absolutely right. That's what I told her from day one when I met her, and I tell everybody, if we've gone through trials and troubles and we let those trials and troubles keep holding us down, and in Her Journey we say that's through the valley, because it's based on Psalms 23. So where it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we don't camp out in that valley of shadow and death. We go through that valley up to that mountain and work our way up to the top of it. And that, ladies, if you've had any kind of struggle, whether it's a health struggle or, abuse and domestic violence, sitting there and dwelling on it is not helping you. And it's kind of still giving power to whatever that is that did that to you, whether it's a disease or a person. And even before I encountered these truths, I was like, they're not getting my power. That's it. And I'm walking away from them, and I am claiming it myself. And that's one thing Holly is great at helping women do. I noticed that she said the empowerment group that we have, and she always says empowerment, and I always say the healing and grace group that we have, or healing and education group we have. But healing and education and getting the confidence from being able to protect yourself empowers women big time. So tell us a little bit about going to one of your classes if we were to go.
Okay, so I teach in 3 different locations, and I'm always open to teach private groups as well. And when I do the classes, a lot of the times they are customized to the concerns of the women in the room. Sometimes women don't feel like they can share what they've been through, and that's fine. But a lot of them have concerns that they will touch on, for example, car safety, shopping, things that maybe have happened to them in the past, but they don't want to go into detail. And we can address those concerns right then and there, so they can learn something that day to be safer tomorrow. And that is something that you won't get at some of these other classes where you have decades of learning in order to have a technique that you need to do. And along with that, it's a healing process, because if you have been in a situation, in order to learn how to strike back that day, that gives you confidence to take your life back. And that's something that I learned back in 2017 when I met you, is how to take my life back from being in hiding for so long and being like, what am I supposed to do now? And that's what I want to give to these women. So also, all of my classes are for women only, so there is no men there to intimidate anybody. Now, I do have something special coming up in 2022, which is a 12-week intensive course. And if you want to learn more about that, reach out to me, because it's going to have partner training and safety and weapon expert training and things like that. So that's a whole intensive course. But all of the classes, you can come in, and every class is different, because you can't take just one class and know everything. So I encourage everybody to take as much as they can.
And on that note, it's kind of like it is good for you to keep going to the classes, because if you are in a tense moment, you're going to forget anything that is in the front of your mind. You're only going to rely on what's already in your rote memory and in your body memory. And I know that when I took some self-defense training in San Antonio, they had this big SWAT team out there training us. It's like they would say you need to practice these things over and over. If you need to get, I've heard you say, if you need to get a pillow and practice hitting that pillow, do it. And Holly has this poor dummy that just gets beat up. And by that dummy, I do not mean Tom. We love you, Tom. I mean her actual beat up dummy. And she has the full body dummy that you can beat up and try it on. But he would, you lay in the floor, and he would put that dummy over you and say, how do you get off the floor? And for women who had been in traumatic situations like that, your first thought is panic, because you remember what happened before. So you need to, even if it scares you a little bit, lay under that dummy and learn how to get out from under him, so that doesn't happen to you anymore. So tell us about the memory and how we need to practice things to keep that in.
Muscle memory is number one key important to become effective during a stressful situation. You're right. Your brain goes to what you know, and if you've practiced nothing, your brain goes to scream panic mode. And if you've practiced through the stress, which we go over that in class, how to teach you to fight through stress and adrenaline rush, because it's completely different than, for example, if you were going to the shooting range and you were shooting a paper target, well, the paper target's not moving. In reality, you're going to have stress. Right. So in a fight, you're going to have stress, and we go over how to handle that. We also have Bob and Floor Fighting Freddy. Floor Fighting Freddy stresses people out.
Yes.
And there have been circumstances where we will stop and we will talk through what somebody's going through, because if you've already been in that situation, you do get the panic, and some of the students do get the panic. But we have a safe environment for women to express that, and it's easy for them to move through. And by the time they're done with that, Floor Fighting Freddy is really getting thrown around. Right. So, and that's the best part, is watching them go, I can do this, and fight through their inner self to come out to their outer self and be stronger when they leave, going, I did that.
Right. And I want to jump in there, because when you're talking about Floor Fighting Freddy, I know that Holly taught my teenage granddaughter some self-defense tactics, because she has found herself where she needs to be able to extricate herself from certain places and be able to protect herself. And one thing that Holly told her, and y'all listen closely because Valentine's is this weekend, so it's the best time to get them, is to get one of those big old full teddy bears or dogs that you see at Walmart that has the big arms and legs, and they're 4 or 5 feet tall. And when you're at home, you can lay that on you and practice getting out from under them, because there is a little weight behind them. There is arms and legs on them. And so you can also hug and squish him and get your emotions out on him, but you can also beat him up a little bit if you need to. So this is an unpaid ad probably for Walmart. They have those big things out this weekend because Valentine's Day is coming up. And it's something you can get that could, even help us grown-ups, not just the teenagers, but, you don't realize what you can do with simple things like that.
A lot of people will say, what am I supposed to do with that? I can show you what to do with that. Those are very useful, and they're also soft and fun for later when you're not mad at it anymore.
Oh, yeah, makeup. But we're not going there right now.
No.
All right. Holly has a very successful video lessons and YouTube channel that you can go and watch a lot of her classes on, and she does some things on Zoom. I've seen Holly. I mean, if you're in Noonan, you've got to know who Holly is. She runs around with it on the back of her car that says Warrior Defenders, and there's a woman with a hero cape on it. And she has a lot of social media and things going on that you can reach her at. Because she's trying to reach women however she can and wherever she can.
Yeah, and I try to, if possible. I mean, I will do the virtual Zoom classes as well. I'll do private coaching if we can. I've coached women all over the United States virtually so that they can learn, especially some that are homebound who are afraid to leave their house because they don't know how to defend themselves. And some of them have been living in some rough situations. Sometimes when the girls take classes, they can contact me afterward in case they are having flashbacks or things. But a lot of times I encourage them to come to the Her Journey meetings as well, because not only is it helpful for people who have been through domestic violence or abusive situations, it'll help you if you're in a relationship that's toxic, that could be a friend or family, or even a job that you're seeing could be toxic. So I encourage everybody to come to those meetings because they'll benefit you on any level in any journey that you're in your life.
Oh, when we were talking about Her Journey, if you don't mind, we're going to talk about it for a few minutes. I spoke on the first episode about my childhood and my first marriage and things I had gone through, and my breakthrough that I had, and how I'd asked God to bring things to me. And when women started talking to me about, I've been in abusive issues, or, there's domestic violence in my house or things, I'm like, what do I tell them? I didn't even know what to tell myself. So next thing popping up on my Facebook feed was this company. Well, it's not a company, it's a charitable organization called Abuse Recovery Ministry, and it's based out of Ohio. It is a non-denominational Christian ministry, and the lady who founded it, Stacy, had never been in abusive or domestic violence situations. She said, but she kept asking God how could she serve him and what could she do, and the next thing she knew, he started introducing her to all these people. So she is now a nationwide advocate for domestic violence groups. But when I found that, I went and said, okay, I want to take the classes. And I contacted a lady named Julie, and I signed up and I took the classes. And it's while I was going to counseling and while I was doing my own thing. And it helped me with a family member who was not my significant other. It helped me deal with a family member that I hadn't been able to deal with previously. So at the end of that class, I was like, I want to teach these classes. So you have to go through, at that time, you had to go through the classes as a leader in training and assist like an intern would. But I missed 2 classes, so they made me take it again. But by the time they did that, they have a very intensive training group that you have to be in to be certified for these classes. And so I attended all the Zoom meetings, and I did all my reading, and I did all my reports, and I paid attention to the classes. And, at the same time, I was taking other classes and doing things and in my counseling. But I finally finished that class, and one day in the mail, I got a certificate that said I was a certified Her Journey leader. And one of the first things I did was call Holly and say, Holly! And I've told many people that even though I have all these certifications and things in other areas, that one took all this bad stuff I had been involved in and turned it for good. It was a piece of paper that said, here's what you can do with this and how you can help women. So it was something tangible to hold on to, and it meant the world to me.
And I was so excited when you contacted me, and I said, okay, what can I put on my website that I can get women to you? Because this program can help you through even the grief of the loss of a loved one. It's been so beneficial for me and so many other women. And even though I have been out of my domestic violence in 2010, there's still healing that needs to go on. And trauma bonds that you don't know were formed in your mind.
Right. And
this Her Journey is great for just anyone to to be involved in. If you can
Right.
make these classes daytime or night, definitely put that in your schedule. Do something for you.
Right.
And if you can take the defense, do that for you too, because both of those are beneficial.
That's the truth. And I know that the first Her Journey class we had, I got sponsored by the church that I attend because it was a great instrument in my healing. And the pastor and them, they had to, talk with the leaders and do recommendations and agree to certain things. Because when I talk on a church level and you talk about domestic violence and stuff, even I have experienced bad information on that. I was told back if I prayed hard enough and if I stopped nagging my husband, then these things wouldn't happen. And that wasn't true because I tried it and it really just got worse. It did, I stopped attending church because he would tell me that's what was wrong with us. But I was getting bad information there. And there is a local woman that won't mind me mentioning her because domestic violence advocacy is high on her list, and that's Linda Kirkpatrick. And the first thing she was talking to me about when Holly introduced us was what is the religious standpoint on that? If you're telling these women that they have to stay in that marriage till they get killed, then I can't back it. Mm-hmm. And we don't. We tell them that, you are God's child, and so this is child abuse. What would you do if your child was being abused? You would not stand by easily and want to put up with it. That abuse and domestic violence, so they have already broken their covenant, and you are not held liable to that covenant. Now, I'm sure there's going to be somebody that listens to me out there that's going to come back on me for saying that, but I guarantee you I would rather save somebody's life and explain that to God than them stay in a marriage until they got killed. And that happens, unfortunately, in many domestic violence situations. But like Holly was saying, instead of, it's not just for domestic violence and abuse victims. I had some ladies from the church come to help take the class, to be prepared to help as the class grew. And without naming any names, but all my friends will know, on the class that we did, which is the second one, that's about boundaries. Lots of us have bad boundaries, and I just posted a thing in the West Coweta Instagram. It's WEST Coweta. It's the Women's Encouragement and Support Team, and that's where we're posting things that's mainly about these classes, but we're touching on other things too. I just posted something about boundaries in there because, we think we're helpful, but we're really letting people walk all over us in some situations. And this woman who was baking us cookies and fixing our coffee for us and came just to listen to classes, she after the boundaries class, she said, I need to talk to you a moment. And at that point, we had a morning and a night class on the same day at that location. And I was like, okay, what do you need to talk about? I've decided that I cannot come to the nighttime class. I can only come to the daytime class, but I'll leave you enough cookies to cover both classes every day. And I was like, you know what? You're not supposed to use that boundary lesson against me, and that was kind of funny because she will sit there and she hadn't been through abusive situations, but it had helped her deal with other things and people that was taking advantage of her, and she'll stand up and tell you, I think everybody needs to take it. And there was also another young lady who, didn't really understand what we were talking about anytime the abuse issue would come up, but it helped her on her communication and her relationships with her husband, and it helped, other members of her family that she invited and brought to the class. Now, her journey, I believe so deeply in it, and I think I expressed that last week, that I seriously think everybody ought to come to it. I would even teach it to some men if they want to, but they probably wouldn't want to come hear me talk all the time. But I feel like it helps build your self-esteem, lets you concrete your identity on who you are, takes that victim stance away from you, and then helps you be the best you that you can be and know what a healthy relationship is like.
And I just love the fact that there's homework that we can do to help build on ourselves too.
All right, we've talked a lot about that, and now it's kind of time for us to close. So I'm going to give Holly a minute to tell where you can find her. But you can always find me at the Creative Heart Studio inside Happy Life Nutrition at 18 Perry Street. Like I said earlier, just open all the doors and yell Margie, and eventually I'll answer you. All right, Holly, how can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook under Warrior Defenders, Instagram Warrior Defenders, TikTok on Warrior Defenders, YouTube, it's www.warriordefenders.com, and that is my website as well. But I am always able to be reached. If you can't find me that way, contact Margie. She'll get you in touch with me, and we'll help you learn how to defend yourself.
We sure will. In every way that we can, whether it's emotional or physical, we're going to go out and slay those giants and then put our markers up to let you know that that's what we're doing.
I'll take the sword.
Yeah, all right. Then I'll take the pain on the other end and we'll do the arts therapy about it. All right, thank you for listening in. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this ended in there good, but like I said, just open up all the doors on Perry Street until you yell Margie and I answer. And if you come in Happy Life, get you a shake because they're pretty good, and we'll just sit back in my little corner and talk about whatever or do some art therapy. And when the Connecting Hearts gets built up more, you'll start seeing signs about us and people posting about us, because this is an awesome group of women that's going to be available to mentor you and to help find a little bit of joy and peace in your life.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Are we there yet? Okay. We're there yet. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Connecting Hearts with Marjorie Conway. Connecting hearts of women to resources, information, and to one another. Presented by Creative Heart Studios, 18 Perry Street, here in Noonan. 404-528-8461. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Tune in Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 10:30 to listen to the Sustainable Brown Girl Radio Show, hosted by me, Ariel Green. Each week, we'll learn ways to be more sustainable in our everyday lives. We'll discuss exciting environmental news, ways to get involved.
Peacock streaming the world's biggest sporting events, exclusive originals, and the latest movies. This February, we've got Super Bowl 56 and the 2022 Winter Olympics. Peacock Original Bel Air from executive producer Will Smith and Westbrook Studios. Damn! Plus tons of new movies every week, including Marry Me, starring Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson, in theaters and streaming only on Peacock Valentine's Day. With all this and so much more to love, sign up now at peacocktv.com.